The legends were real. The stories were wilder. And now it's time to talk about it. This is Wrestling Real Talk. And now your hosts, A.T. Huck and Rude Boy.
Welcome to the premiere episode of Wrestling Real Talk with your homies, A.T. Huck and Rude Boy Rudy Hill. Collectively together have over 60 years of professional wrestling between the two and stories to tell for days and days and days. And of course, we will be talking about current events in wrestling. We will be talking about current wrestling shows. I got to tell you right now, folks, we are feeling good that we get to do this podcast for you. Yes, it's another wrestling podcast, but this one comes with an edge. It comes with an edge where you're getting it real, and that's why it's called Wrestling Real Talk. Now, sometimes real doesn't feel very good, and sometimes it feels just right. But right here on this podcast, you're going to get it as real as possible. Am I telling the truth, Mr. A.T. Allen Huck?
Holy smoke, Rudy, you were going at it, man. But for sure, it's going to be a great podcast. We know so much about wrestling, so much that we've never even talked to each other about. When I started watching wrestling as a fan, Rudy, Dory Funk Jr. was world heavyweight champion. So I've been watching wrestling that long. And then later to become involved in professional wrestling, which I never thought was going to happen. I've been in the ring with so many people, so many legends, as a referee, as a promoter, as a booker, as well as you. Brother,
we've rubbed shoulders with royalty, wrestling royalty, made motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah. Got
Straight
stories,
up.
You know, not just from our experiences with them, but what we watched on television as well.
Absolutely.
The great matches that they had that we remember. Man, I attended shows at the Omni in Atlanta for Georgia Championship Wrestling. I was there.
Man,
so we can talk about all that great stuff that people don't know.
That's amazing. And you know, I actually got to go to the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas with Insane Clown Posse. We had a night off on tour and we went and seen some independent wrestling, but we seen it at the Sportatorium.
At the Sportatorium, the legendary Sportatorium with the Von Erichs. They made that a hotbed in professional wrestling in Texas and took it to a level that nobody thought it was going to go.
Absolutely. The Von Erich boys, you know, they did amazing things. But we're going to be talking about the Von Erichs. We're going to be talking about several different families. And one of the families that I would like to talk about happens to be the International Big Time Wrestling Tag Team Champions. And we've known this family for quite some time.
Forever.
And dare I say, it's because of this family, you and I have the experiences that we've had in professional wrestling.
Exactly. If it wasn't for the patriarch, if you will, Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe, who got us both in the business.
He did.
We started together. You were around before me.
A little bit.
But not officially in the business.
No.
That night, January the 12th, 1991, you would say was your official night into the
absolutely,
business. Mine as well. What a legendary card, the wrestlers that were on that show.
My goodness.
Rob Van Dam.
The one and only suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, Sabu. The Elephant Boy.
What about Bobo Brazil?
Bobo Brazil Jr.
And Junior.
And I'm talking about Junior.
Yeah, Bobo Brazil Jr. was on there as well.
Absolutely.
But on top of that, the Noble Sheik was on that show. And I hate calling him the original Sheik. He's the Sheik.
He will always be the Sheik. And in an upcoming episode of Dark Side of the Ring, they do an in-depth profile on the Sheik. Right. And I hate that it's titled The Original Sheik.
Right, I hate
it. I hate it.
Right.
But shout out to Supermouth, who will be a part of that big show.
Supermouth Dave Drayson, all right.
Absolutely.
He was the manager of the Sheik.
He was,
as well as Sweet Daddy.
He was. And so back to the wrestling family dynasty here in Detroit. Of course, we're talking about the Monroe family.
Right.
We're talking about the DBA. We're talking
like I
about
said, the patriarch, Sweet Daddy, started it all.
Absolutely.
And then DBA came along.
No. First, the Fly
The
came
Fly,
along.
that's right.
Chris the Fly Monroe.
Chris the Fly Monroe.
Who is also a part of international big time wrestling.
He is. Superfly Chris Monroe.
Absolutely.
Chris had to be around in the 80s.
Yes.
In the mid 80s at least.
Yes.
So people take that for granted about Chris. He's been around the business a long time.
Absolutely. And then came along the DBA.
That's right. DBA, after he got out of the Air Force.
Yes. He was jumping out of airplanes.
Right. DBA's a veteran.
He is a veteran. And tip of the cap to him and to all the veterans that listen to us right here on this podcast.
But as soon as he got back, he could have done anything coming out of the military.
Absolutely.
But he wanted to be a professional wrestler like his dad.
He did. And he
trained.
He trained hard.
Yeah, he did.
I watched him.
We butted heads a lot back then.
Mm-hmm.
Because Malcolm saw it one, Sweet Daddy saw it one way, and I saw it another with
Mm-hmm.
DBA. And I knew Malcolm was going to push him real fast. And in my opinion, he pushed him too fast.
Yeah.
I wanted him to take his time and really grow into the DBA. But it went so fast. Hey, but it turned out great.
It did turn out great.
It turned out great.
It did. It turned out, I mean, you look back in hindsight, all kinds of things could have happened differently, but it didn't. It turned out great.
Mm-hmm.
And then along came his son, MM3.
MM3, Malcolm Monroe III. My goodness.
By the way, on the independent circuit.
Just killing it.
Murdering.
He can do traditional wrestling, but he's been really into death match wrestling lately.
Lately, there's been a real resurgence of death match wrestling. And
really around here in Michigan.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of death matches going on.
For sure. Shout out to Horror Slam out there. The guys who are really paving the way for deathmatch wrestling in Michigan.
They really are.
You got to tip your cap to them. I mean, to Briar Wellington and Rachel out there. Yeah, they're
Rachel
doing
Green.
the damn thing, man.
And they've been doing it for a little while now.
Yeah, and
so
what?
They found their niche.
And the thing is that, it may not be for everybody, but it's for somebody, obviously. Because
the fan base is so diverse now. If you don't like apples, you got oranges.
Absolutely.
That's how wrestling is right now.
But back to MM3, who now is doing some of these death match matches and whatnot. Again, that personally bothers me because a guy with so much talent like he has doesn't need to resort to that. I mean, real talk. But you're talking to a guy who did the death match.
Yes, you did. You did.
I did do it.
You did.
And you know what? If I had half the talent that kid
getting more
had,
extreme now than it was back then.
I know.
More so.
I know it
they
is.
Keep pushing the envelope further and further.
And the thing is that scares me because how far do we really push it?
I mean, I seeing guys' arms just open to the
wide
down
open.
to the pink.
Yeah.
Down to the pink meat.
Oh. That happened to me at the Gathering of the Juggalos one year. Me and Nozawa, we tag teamed against Necro Butcher and Pondo, and it was a light tube match, and I got my arm ripped wide open. Had to go. My shit was hanging out. Had to go to the hospital and stuff and get stitched up. And
tell me, what did you really think? When you saw your meat hanging?
Oh man, I was about to pass out. Right. I'm like, somebody give me to a doctor. I'm gonna die right here at the gathering.
So you didn't think about going getting some tape and wrapping it up and coming back?
Hell no. I was thinking, oh my God, am I gonna throw up?
That's crazy.
But and now we have
Killer Caden Monroe.
Now, you tell me, because you've seen more of him than I have.
Yeah.
He is one half of the tag team champions with his father.
That's right.
Which is unprecedented.
The Monroe dynasty.
It is a dynasty. If you call the Monroes anything other than a dynasty,
You know what?
it's a travesty.
And the thing about it, all of their styles are different.
Right.
You know, Sweet Daddy was a traditional old school wrestler. You know, he would have foreign objects.
Oh, yeah.
You know, do a lot of cheating.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stalling.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that type of thing.
Mhm.
Winning with his feet on the ropes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he in a battle royal,
I couldn't stand
he wouldn't get in the ring. He'd stay on the apron of the ring and then sneak in the match later.
I was
Just crazy stuff like that, you know.
I was a big Mohammed Saad fan.
Mm-hmm.
He was a babyface back then.
Right.
And he wrestled Sweet Daddy at the Lincoln Park Ice Arena, Lincoln Park Community Center.
Yeah.
And for the Sheik. And they caused a riot in that place.
See, I wasn't around.
Oh
then,
my
you know?
God. The Arabs went bananas
That was
when
like-
Sheik
that was
or when
What year
Sweet
was that?
Daddy,
Like 79,
No,
80?
that was
something?
81.
See, I was in college. I was in Atlanta.
Yeah. It was 81.
Yeah.
And because I remember Tex McKenzie wrestled the Sheik on the same show.
How'd it draw?
It was packed.
It was packed.
Packed.
Okay.
Wall to wall.
Wow.
And it was like only Mohammed Saad's second or third match. So all of his family, the Arabs
Everybody.
from
All
Dearborn came.
Dearborn was there.
And when Sweet Daddy and Bug were cheating, they
lost their minds.
Lost their minds, yes. And I remember my father he was drinking beer, laughing. He was just having a ball, man. I remember that
That's
clearly.
crazy.
Yeah.
So Malcolm and they had to run to the dressing room?
They had to run out of the building.
Holy smoke.
Yes, sir. Out of the building.
That's crazy.
And yeah, like you said, the contrast of styles,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because then you had DBA who, I mean,
DBA he's versatile.
he can go just like
Because he
MM3.
can wrestle,
Yes.
but he tends to brawl.
Yes.
He likes to brawl. He likes to fight.
He likes to fight. And
likes
I've
to
been in the
fight.
ring with him several times, and it was always a fight.
He only wrestles because people expect him to wrestle.
Right.
But he'd rather just go in there and just punch you right in the eye.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
I know.
DBA style.
I know. Or in the mouth.
Or in the mouth. Or cut you.
Right.
He's the only one that I know of that will pull a knife out on you.
There was also New Jack who did that crazy
Well, I mean the
stuff
Monroes.
too. But
in the family.
But yeah, in the family, oh yeah. And
We're talking about the difference in their styles. Sweet Daddy never pulled a knife out on me.
No. But DBA did, but it was a three-way. It was me, DBA, and Rough House Rob.
Yes, I have a photo of that.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh, we got to show that. Let me tell you something. First off, rest in peace to Rough House Rob.
Peace. I
man,
didn't get to see him before I left. I didn't get back in time.
Unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. And let me tell you something. What a great guy. I mean, every time I seen him, he had a smile on his face. He made you feel good. And I've known him. I've known him 36 years.
Yeah, since he got in the business, a long time.
Yes.
You may have known him before he got in the business.
I did it
You did?
about a year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember one night, and I told you this a few days ago. We were coming from one of your shows,
Mm-hmm.
and Rob needed a ride home. He had been drinking a little bit.
A little bit?
More than a little bit.
Not Rob.
So he's like, can you give me a ride home? And I was like, yeah. Actually, Loverboy Steve wanted me to take him home. He didn't want Rob to drive.
Okay.
So that's how it really
Shout out to Loverboy
Loverboy
Steve out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll take you home. Turn down this street. Okay. Turn down this street. But in the meantime, before we get to the turns, he's just talking about Roddy Piper and stuff like that. And this goes on for a half an hour at least, me trying to get him home.
Right.
And when we finally get home to his house, it was a block away from the building.
Oh my God. So you've been just cruising around the whole time?
He's just telling me to turn. He just wanted to hang out with me, I think. But I know he'd been drinking, so I don't know if he got lost. But his house was just 1 or 2 blocks away from the building.
Damn. Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Rough House Rob.
Rest in peace, Rough House Robin. And so then, like you said, then MM3 came along.
MM3 comes along. Now, MM3 is more of what you would call almost a strong style.
Strong style.
Yeah, he likes to give knees and kicks. Very acrobatic, but he has that killer side to him too.
Right.
That will go deep into a death match.
Right. Let me ask you something, since this is Wrestling Real Talk, and what do you think is holding him up from something big? I mean, something really major. I mean, because he's been the talk of the town for years now.
You know what? Right now, I can't say, but I do know in the past, when he did have big opportunities, he was like with TNA Gut Check.
Mm-hmm.
I think he may have been a Gut Check winner.
I thought he won
TNA.
it.
Yeah, I think he was a winner. But, you know, since this is Real Talk, and I've said I'm going to tell the truth, him and Scott D'Amore didn't mesh. You know, the proper
and
words,
Scott was the boss.
Yeah, Scott was the boss.
Right.
You know, and MM3 may, you know, I guess he doesn't bite his tongue or change how he speaks to people.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say anything offensive to Scott, but, you know, he tells Scott that he never takes an L. You know, and Scott was like, really?
Oh, boy.
You know? But that wasn't all the problems either. You know, there were some potentially racial issues going on.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I hate to hear that.
Yeah, with Impact and, you know, MM3, and, you know, I don't know if he told me this. Maybe he did. He said he wasn't the right color brown.
Oh,
what they were looking for. They were looking for an Indian.
Oh,
you know, or that type of wrestler.
Right.
AI or EI. What would you say his name is? Rohit Raju.
Right, the you know, Mad Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, so but
damn, was that real talk?
Even that was as real as it gets. But let me also say this: that even though he didn't get that, and that didn't come through, it still doesn't take away from the fact that he's doing amazing things today.
Yes, he
in
is.
this business,
right? And I don't even think he wants to go that direction.
I find a lot.
I would see him doing AEW.
Yeah,
but Impact, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Impact is a good place to be because it's tied into WWE, where everybody wants to go.
Right.
Everybody wants to go there. Shout out to Scott D'Amore, since you just brought him up, and Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling that is happening over in Canada, taking the world by storm. Shout out to you, my friend, Scott D'Amore, man. I can't tell you how proud I am of you. It was a shock when you were let go by TNA. We were all in shock because you took it out of the ashes as far as I was concerned. And when I got to visit you out in Philadelphia and seeing what the product became, it was simply amazing. And when you were let go, I was bummed out. And you know I was, Scott. You know, we had several conversations. But damn it, man, here you go.
Yeah,
Maple Leaf.
Yeah, man. Scott went a long way in this business, man. You know, I remember when he first started, you know, I met him and he was coming over here, different shows like for Coach Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's where I met him. And not long after that, he started Border City Wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, and man, he took that.
And then he was with MTW.
Yeah, MTW.
That's where I got to
Gary
know
Warncheck.
him and work with him.
But he started running his own shows.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like his stepping stone to do other things from running his own shows.
You know, I used to talk to him. He'd run his own shows, like you said, Border City Wrestling. And then he would go down to Atlanta to do work for WCW, man.
Yeah, he would
and a
take
lot of-
Rhino down
Yes,
there.
yes, sir.
Maybe Otis Apollo.
I think even maybe
Went down
Edge
there.
might have went.
Edge maybe, but I know
Once or
Rhino
twice.
went down there, and Scott was like the liaison, for the guys that they would bring in from Michigan.
And that was, I mean, he was really young then.
Real young.
And
early
here-
20s.
Right. And here he was taking that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And I like I said, we can go on for days and days about his track record.
Right.
But I got to tell you,
Which we will
something.
later.
We will, most certainly will. Hopefully, we'll have him on.
Yeah.
Where we can really pick his brain.
Right.
But like I said, I would be remiss if we just passed over the fact that he's doing major things. And I'm very proud.
I mean,
of him.
Maple Leaf Wrestling looks like TNA. The production, the light, everything is just immaculate.
Top notch announcement.
How could you do it any other way, coming from where Scott has come from?
Absolutely.
If it looked worse than that, something is wrong.
Now we move on to the youngest Monroe and his wrestling abilities and
Caden.
his style. Tell us about that, Huck.
Wow. You know what? I haven't seen enough of Caden to really give a good description. Because he does a little bit of everything. I've seen him brawl, seen him high fly, and I'm kind of thinking he wants to do deathmatch stuff.
Aye.
But I'd rather him not, because he's wrestling.
Not now, he doesn't need that.
No, I wouldn't want him to, but how can you stop him?
Sure, he's a
How can
grown
you
man.
stop him? He's in the business now.
And he's a grown man.
Unless his father is really guiding him at this level still.
Right.
If he's not out there on his own, I think DBA is still kind of telling him what to do.
Sure. I agree with that. I agree with that as his father did for him.
Mm-hmm.
So the Monroe Dynasty, man, they're here at International Big Time Wrestling, have a hot feud with the Den. Tell us about the Den.
Caesar Assure and the Mighty Mojack.
Woo-hoo.
They're the Den. I think Caesar, I think he's been wrestling a couple years now.
Okay.
Trained at House of Truth.
Uh-huh.
Really great guy. But from the time I saw him training until now, it's a totally different person, man.
Yeah.
Caesar Assure, man, that dude is just personality just coming out.
These guys are one of my favorite teams of all time. They really
and they
are.
love professional wrestling.
Yes.
They're enthusiastic, man. They make their own little vignettes all the time. They help promote whatever show they're on more than I've seen anybody do.
They remind me of young Briscoe brothers.
Yeah, you said that
They
about
do.
a year ago.
They do.
Yeah.
I swear to
And
you.
Mojack, for the side as big as he is, I mean
Yes.
Bojack. I said Mojack. Bojack, man, that's a big dude, but can he move?
Absolutely. We're lucky to have him at International Big Time Wrestling as we are with the Monroes. But before we go any further, I would like to shout out our sponsor, our key sponsor right here on Wrestling Real Talk. That's Throwdown Theater. Go check out Throwdown Theater right now. Find out all the information where you can find the trading cards, the exclusive trading cards for Throwdown Theater. Now, let me tell you something, Huck. One of the cool things about being a part of Throwdown Theater, Rocks TV, and the whole production of International Big Time Wrestling is that we get to do some cool shit.
Oh, we sure do.
And
man.
some of the cool shit that we are doing is mind-blowing. And one of those cool things that we're doing is we have our own trading cards featuring
beautiful trading
the
cards.
Sheik.
I mean, everybody around the world should
Bobo
want these
Brazil.
cards.
Oh my gosh.
You talk about old school. These are original pictures that no one has seen.
It's true. And, we did a collaboration with Supermouth Dave Drayson on this project, and we're just so proud of it. And you know what? This is what separates the boys from the men.
Let me backtrack just a little bit. You're talking about Dave Drayson. A lot of people don't know about Dave Drayson, and they should.
Absolutely.
Dave Drayson's been around the business for years, since the early 70s. He used to have his own conventions in Detroit while Bull Curry would get, an award. But then he got into the business, first taking pictures, then became a manager.
He did.
But all those pictures, a lot of those pictures in the body presses were from Dave Brzezinski.
Yes, sir.
Who is Supermouth Dave Drayson. But you'll see his name in the body presses.
Yes, sir.
He has a multitude of photos that nobody had as access to but us.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who love professional wrestling, once again, I want to shout out our major sponsor, Throwdown Theater. Go check out Throwdown Theater right now on YouTube. You'll see all of the cool content from the past 50 years in professional wrestling. 50 years.
And I must say this, and it's not tooting my own horn, but I guess it is. Some of that footage are on VHSs that I've had since the 80s.
Exclusively from the personal collection of A.T. Hook.
VHSs that I would tape everything that came on.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this isn't all the tapes I had. Some of them got lost in the flood.
Sure.
So this is maybe just half of what I had.
Sure.
But sharing it with Rock's TV and Throwdown Theater, man, I just love it.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, check out Throwdown Theater on YouTube right now. Subscribe. Make sure that you hit that like button, and you definitely want those notifications. Why? Because we got some cool content coming your way, featuring all of your favorites of professional wrestling today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Now, back to Wrestling Real Talk. Wrestling Real Talk. This is our first ever episode. We're coming to the end of it. But before we go any further, I would like to bring up one thing that's happening currently in wrestling.
Okay.
And this is a beef between Swerve Strickland of AEW
former heavyweight champion,
and WWE Hall of Famer Booker T.
Yes.
Now, the beef is going back and forth between these two, but it's all been started by this asshole by the name of DJ Vlad. And DJ Vlad is a hip-hop journalist who tries to get all kinds of beef started.
Stirring shit up.
Always. And first off, what the hell do you know about professional wrestling?
Hey, I don't know who the dude is anyway.
Right, no
Vlad the Impaler like Dracula?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And anyways, so he's a shit stirrer between the two. And the thing is that let's keep in mind one thing. And I told this to Carlito yesterday when we were talking about this. Booker T is a gangster, homie.
Right.
He's from the streets.
Oh, yeah. And did you see it? Did you actually see when Swerve Strickland said F Booker T?
I did not, but I heard audio of it. And I was like, how you going to do that, man? Like that guy. And then you talk about how he didn't pay any dues or he didn't have to worry about racism in wrestling. Bullshit, man. Bullshit.
Yeah,
Booker T went through a lot for you.
He paved the way.
Yes.
For the modern generation of wrestlers.
Absolutely. We always talk about Bobo Brazil and Ernie Ladd, and those guys deserve to be talked about.
But as far as today's generation, they relate to Booker T.
Absolutely.
And Booker T, like I said, paved the way.
And
I don't think there's been another African-American wrestler on the major platforms that has won the world title as many times as Booker T.
Absolutely.
WCW and the WWF.
Absolutely. Now,
WE, whatever you want to call it.
The WCW had Ron Simmons. Great. And Booker
but
T.
Ron Simmons wasn't a multiple time
but Booker
world
T
champion.
was.
Right.
Over and over.
Right.
Yes, I agree. And then back in the 80s coming up, there was all the other guys were shucking and jiving for these promoters, the jive tones and that bullshit like that. You know what I mean? And finally, here comes a tag team, Harlem Heat. Who didn't take no shit from nobody, man.
Right.
And you gotta respect that. Yeah, you gotta respect.
They were awesome tag team. But what is Swerve Strickland really talking about? He's talking about that Booker T didn't open doors and didn't have to deal with certain things in the business like racism. How can he even say that?
It's just
There's many things that Booker T has talked about that he had to deal with.
I mean, Booker T has went through hell and high water to get to where he's at. And tip of the cap to the man, you talk about a guy who turned his life around. This is one cat who did. And shout out to Booker T. He's always been cool every time I've ever had an encounter with him.
Yeah, it's me as well. But going back to Swerve Strickland, people are talking about him now. I mean, maybe this was a smart move on it. Is he a heel? Is he,
he's a baby face on He's a baby face on
forward,
TV.
What will he be?
Well,
this could, might get him a little heat, but could he use it?
But he's getting the heat that
the wrong kind of heat
nobody wants to get. Yeah, he's getting the heat from the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want that.
Right.
You don't want that.
Can't use that.
And again,
you see me, I'm trying to work an angle.
A.T. Huck, you know what? This has been fun. This has been our first ever podcast. We do want to encourage our fans to write in, ask questions. We will not avoid any question.
Nope. Ask us anything and we'll answer it to the best of our ability.
So make sure that you check out the bottom of the screen. We'll have the address for all of that information. And you know what? This has been a really cool opening show. It's just going to get better.
Right.
We hope that you fans are enjoying it. We hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you have, please tell a friend or a family member who loves professional wrestling like us two right here. Let me tell you something. There's only one other man that I know that loves wrestling more than A.T. Huck and Rudy Hill, and his name's James E. Cornette. And
right.
Shout out to you, Jimmy Cornette, out there. Shout out to all of you guys who've been listening. Thank you so much. A.T. Huck, any final words?
Oh, man, just come back next time. We're going to have a great show.
Absolutely. Hey, fans, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Be good to one another. Keep rocking. We'll see you next time right here on Wrestling Real Talk.
Peace.